Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. We're about to get this session started. So, for those of you who want to, find your way to your seats and get this rolling, please come on over. We're still trying to get the slides going. We have our 2019 performance report that I wanted to walk you through, very short and sweet on some of the key highlights, updates of our 2019 activities. And then I also, wanted to kind of quickly show you the startups that are going to present today, in what categories they fall under. Really, really exciting. Batch 6 of the energy and sustainability practice. For those of you guys who are not familiar with our practice, we started back in 2017, our first cohort summer of that year, and then every batch we accelerated 15 to 20 startups. We invested in about 8 of them, and total of 84 companies that we accelerated. And that's just our energy and sustainability practice. So my name is Wade. I lead our energy practice here. My colleagues here who helped kind of tally the startups here for us today. The companies that are presenting are the short list of the top 100 list that our partners have reviewed. And the outcome or the anticipated outcome of this event is to select about 10 to 15 of the companies that receive the highest ranking from our anchor partners of the energy program. And just by the way of introduction, first of all, a few other announcements I wanted to make, and really apologies to those who travel far distances, but with the state of health concerns, we actually had to turn some of our upcoming events into virtual. So for those of you who came here for our IoT mobility selection days that are happening tomorrow and the day after, we actually canceled those, and we're going to have virtual presentations. So the partners can still view the startup pitches over the links that they will receive. However, there won't be bigger gatherings like this the following days. I do also mention that there was a couple of dinners tomorrow night as well as Wednesday night. Those two are also canceled. We also had an offsite meeting with our anchor partners on Thursday. That event has also been canceled, similar to all these other events that you're seeing with the concern and fear of coronavirus. So apologies for those of you who are here. Obviously, your safety and health is our top priority. And we hope that today is engaging. Actually, our energy practice is one of the very few ones that still has this meeting going. I'm happy that you guys have made it here. As I mentioned, we have 20 plus companies that are presenting today. You have received the information to log into the playbook system if you're an anchor partner of energy practice and vote on those startups that are presenting. If you're just using the app, you will have more granular details about each company, the amount of money they raised, their funding stage, and the traction that they've received in early days. So with that said, I will give you a quick rundown of our 2019, and then I wanted to, perhaps for the introduction purposes, have our partners to say a few words to those startups that are here in the room so that they better understand what is the demographic of our partners. So very quickly, in 2019, we entered 5 new countries. We opened up 11 new locations for Plug and Play and launched 18 different programs. The locations today are now 30 plus around the world. And the number of events only in 2019 surpassed 52% were in Silicon Valley, 26% in Asia, and 22% in Europe. 720 events. Some were public events and some private. Most of these events are for startups to go on stage and pitch and receive feedback. We have quarterly major summits. That is the graduation of the companies that enter the program. So there will be another kind of event where the companies get a larger stage and more partners in the audience that they will pitch. Our event for the Energy Expo will be in June. Uh, for those of you who haven't heard the news, we launched our joint venture with the Alliance to End Plastic Waste. About 40 of the major petrochemical companies that have pledged to put an end into plastic waste. We now are acting as the technology platform, and we have an office in Paris, one in Singapore, and one here in Silicon Valley that helps these companies to find more innovative startups to commercial some of their solutions. The number of startups accelerated for last year was 1,400. Basically, these are the companies who get an opportunity to come on stage, go into the programs, meet with the partners, as well as startups and investors in our community, and get a chance to attend our expo. And that's how we define the acceleration in our program. The number of private deal review sessions last year surpassed 1,800. These are private meetings behind the closed doors with each and every single partner that we have in our ecosystem, and a list of companies that they have selected to meet with prior to their visit, depending on who is participating from those groups. Number of our corporate partners passed 400 last year. As I mentioned, 4 major summits where we announced the most innovative corporate partners. In our energy practice, we had Tokyo Gas as the winner of our spring summit, and we had Energie Steiermark as the winner of the energy practice in fall of 2019. And again, the criteria to select these corporate partners as the winners are based on the number of engagements that they've had with the startups, number of investments they made, number of proof of concepts and pilot projects that they've launched with the startups. So we kind of review their performance, and we award them these certificates that shows their participation in our programs. And those are some of the other industry verticals and some of the other more innovative partners. So for the startups in the room, if you're targeting other sectors, you can see who are the most active corporations that you can target to work with. Milad, our venture associate, today gave an update of our investment practice. For those of you who participated, I'll just run some of the numbers for those of you who weren't able to get those updates. Our average ticket size last year was $114,000. We made 250 investments. About 137 investments was here in our Silicon Valley office, and the rest was in Europe and elsewhere. We deployed $30 million a year in the past 3 years in the startups. 60% of our investments in the US, the rest international. 75% of our investments target early stage companies, seed stage. As you can imagine, the size of the checks are smaller. And our companies in portfolio have exited year by year. As you can see in 2019, 14 exits, which is unheard of in our venture world. Obviously, we take very small shares, so up to 5%. So we're not acting as an active board member in those startups, but we see a large number of exits year by year, and that's how we make most of our money in our plug and play business model. These are the 4 big exits. The companies raised a total of $1.9 billion in 2019. All right. So as I mentioned, every cohort, the focus areas of the practice is defined by the group of anchor partners that are participating today. This is a quick snapshot of the breakdown of technology areas for our batch 5. Obviously, you can see a presence of mobility startups at the intersection of the transportation and energy space. You see companies in the renewable energy space, asset management, for companies that can bring incremental value to the business today, as well as carbon capture and some of the more sustainability-focused startups that presented in our previous cohort. Today, the companies that are presenting, as I mentioned, 20 plus, some weren't able to come in, as we understand why. But we see a number of companies in energy storage space, asset management, EV, energy analytics, energy management, industrial operations, urban systems, and wireless technologies. So the purpose of this event today is for our anchor partners to actually engage in the conversation with the startups. So we encourage you to ask questions that can help other partners, make a smarter decision as to whether we should vote for these companies to get in or not. So this is more of an interactive session. This front row is still empty, so if you'd like to come over and sit on the front row and engage in the conversation easier, please feel free to do so. Those in the back. Okay, so that's pretty much it for me. Thank you so much again. After the startup presentations, we have networking time from 3 to 5. We still have our networking happening today. We may afterward grab dinner for those of you who are still around. But I wanted to thank all the entrepreneurs on that side for making the trek here, and best of luck today for your presentation. There's apps that you can put your votes in and comments and feedbacks. So we look forward to hearing each and every one of yours ideas about these companies that are here. Without any questions? From the startups, who is here for the first time? Everyone almost? Okay, I hope that you get a bit of feel for what this program has to offer. For our partners, who is here for the first time? Not too many? All right. Okay, so again, for those of you who are here for the first time, haven't had this experience before, feel free to ask us how to better engage in this model. But I want to turn it over to my colleague, Milad, who's going to MC the startup presentation. So please, a round of applause for all of our startups. Also, another great partner and colleague of mine here, Noreen, in the ventures team.